First thing we have is an ordinance relating to human health hazards. Sally, you just wanna?
Mr. Chair,
I don't think.
could you just let people know that we're, this is the License and Health Committee meeting first, so this is item number 47 on the agenda. We're gonna do Administration and Finance after this. Thank you.
The ordinance, we're requesting a human health hazard ordinance, and what it does is it gives the health department some tools to deal with some of our hoarding situations. Animal hoarding also gives us the ability to deal with some of the drug houses and other things we've seen. Currently, we don't have a lot of ordinance language about the inside of homes, and this will help us deal with some of the health hazards we've seen.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second. Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel.
if I could ask the Health Commissioner, so deal with, what does that mean? I mean eviction notice, if it's warranted, or, I mean, that's
No,
probably the last
generally-
step, or?
Generally, it helps us get, if it's mental health issues, to get some services in, to help clean out houses, helps us get Matic in to remove animals and rehome them, those kinds of things.
Okay,
Okay.
good, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Then we have item number 48 is the finding of recommendations in the matter of Atili's Restaurant. They weren't asked to be here, were they?
No, they were sent a copy of the findings recommendation with no response.
Okay. And so, city attorney, so we just approve this and they lose their license.
Correct.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion?
For approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 49, appointment of new agent for Pick and Save.
Move approval. Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? License for item number 50.
Move approval, subject to necessary requirements.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And we have the police report, item number 51.
I move to place on file, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then we have item number 52, 54, 55, 56, 58, 59, and 61.
Place on file?
The motion placed on file, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Haskett, second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries, and that is all.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
All right, and then the administration, thank you, nice. The administration, I'll call the Administration Finance Committee to order, and all members are present, starting on our agenda with item number 10, which is a joint referral with Public Works. It's a request from the Director of Public Works, City Engineer, and Assistant Director of Public Works to extend temporary appointment of Paul Barwick to the position of Building and Sign Inventory Superintendent.
Move approval. Second.
A motion from Alderman May, a second from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And moving on, we're going to skip item 11. We will cover items 11 and 17 later in this meeting tonight. Item 12, resolution relative to selecting Maestro Health for furnishing the software in the amount of $155,000.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Rebecca.
Rebecca Grill, City Administrator. This is amending a current contract we have with this company. They currently provide us services for our ACA reporting requirements. We're required to provide employees, evidence that they have health insurance, so they can file that with their taxes. So we've had a relationship with them. This is an amendment to that original contract to extend this to also include benefit administration. So we can do online enrollment, for our annual enrollment for health and dental benefits, as well as for other benefits that we provide to employees. So for the annual enrollment for new employees, if there's any changes during the year. So it reduces the amount of administrative staff time and a lot of the paper that we have to deal with during those processes.
Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
I have a motion from Alderman Weigel,
Second.
second from Alderman May. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
So, in the past, they were previously doing just ACA,
Correct.
compliance, but now we're expanding their role with us, and we don't need to bid this out?
This was done with the help of our benefit consultant at the time, so they actually gathered bids for us and had people, we had demos and things in, so we did it through our benefit consultant.
And do we know on how much of this 155,000 for 3 years is ACA compliance versus what they're doing for?
I believe our previous, was it 15 a year? 9?
No, good, because I was scared. I hope we weren't paying $50,000 a year for ACA compliance.
No, it wasn't. It was, the total amount was probably 36 or 28. I can't remember
Okay,
the.
no, I was just wondering how this
Yeah.
split worked out, so, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 13, resolution relative to repealing and recreating policy number 1413, health and dental insurance.
Cheryl and Audrey, did you want to speak to this? There was a revision submitted by the attorney's office and human resources.
Audrey
Wanna-
Key for the Human Resources Department.
Mr. Chair,
You might need.
sure. Can you come to the microphones just so?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
We like you, Audrey. Come on.
Good evening. Thank you. Audrey Key, Human Resources Director. We're providing you an update to the health and dental insurance policy for clarification in regards to the current procedures and practices, so memorializing them better within that policy. A lot of the efforts were Jane Barwick, so she deserves the kudos for updating it, and Cheryl's review in regards to ensuring that everything was within order.
Yeah, so Audrey, are there any changes or I understand what you're saying, it's codifying existing practice, but what's the difference? Why, what, are there any differences?
There are no changes.
Okay.
It is codifying what has been occurring. There are changes through police and fire union negotiations previous to Wisconsin Act 20, which then removed bargaining over the benefits there. So putting into place what was in the union contracts into the policy.
Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
A motion from Alderman
Second.
May, second from Alderman Rote. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. And item 14.
Move for approval.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
That must be the second.
And item 15.
Move for approval.
Nice. I have a motion from Alderman
Second.
Chapletsky, second from Alderman Rote. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 16, resolution awarding the sale of $8.9 million in general obligation corporate purpose bonds series 2017A. Ms. Stino.
I'm gonna be joined by Dawn Gunderson from Ellers. We had a bond sale today, to do our 2017 borrowing, and we got some really good results. I will let her share the good news.
I handed out a folder which contains two documents. One is the amended resolution that your bond attorneys prepared today. So your agenda states a dollar amount of $8,935,000. We actually went to market this morning, and with the adjustment to the sizing, you will be authorizing $8,825,000. So we reduced the bond size by $110,000. I'll explain what that is with the pre-sale report. So acknowledging that you'll be adopting this resolution this evening, and as well as the city council. So the second document is a sale day report, and we've tried to summarize the results of today's sale. So at 10 o'clock this morning, we took competitive bids between the meeting that Mike Harrigan was here, and this morning you prepared an official statement. You held a meeting with the bond rating agency that was with Moody's, and they affirmed your AA2 rating. So that was the rating that we went to market with this morning. 10 o'clock we took bids. We received 6 bids on this competitive sale, and we score the bids by a true interest cost, and BOK Financial Service Securities out of Milwaukee was our winning bid. The summary on this of the results is on page 1 of this document. Our low bid was a TIC of 199.1. Our high bid was 2.155. That's a difference of about $104,000. So, you know, that's we see as a benefit of taking your low bid is the range that you can find in the market on any given day. So we did receive a premium, and there's money that we deposited into your debt service fund to make interest or to make principal payments for the next 2 years, and you can see that in the details to follow. We'll be scheduling a closing on October 12th, at which time you'll have the funds available to either reimburse yourself for any costs you've incurred or undertake remaining of project costs. We also undertook a refunding in this for tax increment district number 5, and I'll show you the results of that as well. So on page 2 of this document is the beginning of what we refer to as the bid tabulation. Here we've identified the 6 bidders that we received. To the far right column of this document is that TIC. So here we have BOK Financials as our winning bid with a TIC of 199. Then Northland Security is out of Minneapolis. FTN Financial Markets out of Memphis. Raymond James out of Memphis, Baird out of Milwaukee, and Wells Fargo out of Charlotte, North Carolina were the 6 bids that we received. On page 6, this is the sizing schedule that Mike would have reviewed with you at the time of setting sale. What we've done here is we're comparing the original planning estimates with the actual final sales result. So the 2 far right columns are the summary of that. Because of the lower than anticipated underwriter discount, some lower than projected issuance expenses, and the results of the premium, we were able to downsize the principal amount of the issue by $110,000. The premium bid that we received, the interest or the excess amount of that is deposited in the debt service fund to make payments. So they pay a premium in exchange for the couponing. But again, we had lower than expected issuance expenses. Many of those are paid for by the city up front, so that cash outlay will be lower as well. On the first pull-out page of this document is you were financing several purposes: your street projects, fire apparatus, sanitary sewer projects, water projects, and then a refunding. So this is the breakout of each, and on the bottom, we did not downsize the streets, so you have a little bit extra project funds for projects there than our original planning. We kept those funds to assist in street projects. The premium bid is reflected there, nets into the overall cost of the financing and reduces the total principal and interest cost. And as well as the refunding, we were able to downsize the refunding with that additional premium. So if you look to the far right of this schedule, our overall cost of financing is lower by $195,000 from the planning estimates that we had, and that's reflecting both the downsizing of the principal and the utilization of the premium to offset interest expense. The schedule on Page 8 then builds this into your outstanding debt that you have in place, geo debt, any non-levy resources to pay for that debt, and the impact then on the levy projections for your debt service payments in your future budget years. Again, this kind of summarizes, we took $110,000 off the principal, we're utilizing premium to pay interest and a savings of $119,000 from planning estimates. And then ultimately, we undertaken a refinancing or current refinancing of a bond issue related to tax increment district number 5. And the results of that is on page 9, a comparison of the existing principal and interest and the refunded principal and interest. At time of planning, we were projecting a future savings of about $65,000. Interest rates came in lower than projected, so our future savings is $87,870. Net PV about $78,006, and it's a 10.42% of the principal being refunded, so it's a substantial savings to the tax increment district. And the last couple of schedules in this document, okay. The rating report, as I mentioned, Moody's affirmed your rating is a AA2. That report is included in this document, so it's important to review that. Talks about the strengths and the credit challenges that are here at the city, and the factors that can cause your rating to go up or perhaps go down, the things that you might be able to control. So anyway, it's a very good, strong report with a lot of positive information in there. And the last document, we like to just kind of give you a look-see of where interest rates have been over the last year. We certainly, in October of 16, we were substantially lower, but since the beginning of this year, we actually are in the market at a lower than average over that last 12-month period. So we've seen rates decline, and have stayed fairly low for the last several months. So I'm happy to answer any questions any of you may have.
Alderman
I just
Chablusky.
want, which is TIF 5?
It's the original 6 points.
The original 6.
Farmers, 6 points farmers.
And then if I can just
Sorry
make
for
one more
sorry for
comment.
interrupting.
Go ahead, Peggy.
So the timing worked out very well for us. You heard that this was the lowest rates in the last 12 months, which was great, but we also shifted our borrowing a little bit. Typically, we're borrowing at the beginning of the year. There's really no reason for that because we can have a reimbursement resolution in place and then reimburse ourselves. So basically what we've done by borrowing in September instead of March-ish is saved about 6 months worth of interest costs in year one. So sometimes it pays to be good, and that's the timing of not paying the interest costs, and sometimes it pays to be lucky, and that's the market conditions today, which really benefited us.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
I just want to point out for Moody's, they have our credit strengths, our credit challenges. Our strengths are a large tax base, a moderate or healthy fund balance and liquidity, and a moderate debt burden. Our challenges are a stagnant tax base valuation. Wealth and income levels lag similarly rated local governments, and this one is the one that I think caught a few of our eyes, and doesn't really surprise us. But our sizable unfunded OPEB liability, which ties in with our previous meetings and how we need to really address that. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone on the committee.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And then we're gonna move on to number 18. We'll skip 17 for just a moment and come back to that later. 18 is a resolution relative to accepting a proposal of Key Code Media for furnishing and installing robotic pan, tilt, zoom cameras and wireless microphones.
Move for
total.
approval.
Second.
Motion from Alderman Chaplesky and a second from Alderman Weigel. I have a question. Can we afford this? And who can answer that? I offer that to the whoever wishes to answer.
I believe you'll see in the resolution the locations where we're taking the funding from. We already had about half of this set aside for redoing the art gallery downstairs. So I believe we're taking from the other part from a reserve account.
Thank
So,
you, Rebecca.
Yes.
And Mr. Chair?
Yes.
For people following along, this is gonna allow us to televise and record and then replay all of our committee meetings, including our commission meetings and boards and all that. So this is the AV system for the art gallery or the Rothskeller?
Whichever you like to call
Art
it. We,
gallery.
we speak of it as the art gallery, so.
This will also allow us the ability to record meetings simultaneously. So we can record
Yeah.
this at the same time that we're recording
Yeah, so,
the other committees.
yeah.
Alright, we have a motion and a second, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. And item 19 is a communication from city administrator regarding notification of retirement of Michael G. Lewis. Oh, that's too bad, Mike. I'll leave my commentary out of it. No. Yeah. Thank you for notifying us and giving us plenty of time to work to get a successor in order. And thank you in advance for all of your service to the city. We'll talk about it some more. But can I have a motion to place that on file?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion besides my heartfelt? I mean, not really.
Well,
It
we'll get
is.
to that later.
Yeah, right.
You need that in December.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 20, without objection, we're going to hold until the October 19th
Night.
meeting, October 9th, thank you, Rebecca. The October 9th meeting with the budget, but Peggy or Rebecca will have a few words to say before the motion. I'm reading the note literally. So go ahead.
So in your packet, Peggy had put together the complete recommended capital improvement program from our revisioned capital improvement committee. I believe it was almost 2 years ago that there was a significant change to the membership and the duties of that body, which were approved by this committee. So you'll find additional items in the program than we previously had, mainly a lot of just building improvements and streets and things like this. This also encompasses other large items that we need to prioritize as we move forward. So if you have any questions on that, you can let us know. We're still working on the plans for from 2019 to 22. We'll hopefully have those together by the time the budget process is in full swing. So look forward to you contacting us with any questions in the meantime. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. All right, then moving on to item 21, the Finance Director Comptroller submitting report for August 2017. I have a motion to place on file.
So moved. Second.
A motion from Alderman May and a second from Alderman Rote. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 22 is a finance, finance director communication submitting the City of West Allis 2016 comprehensive annual financial report and 2016 OPEB for approval. Do we need to approve this, or do we need to place this communication on file?
I believe just place them on file. We discussed them at the last Administration and Finance Committee.
Done discussing
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
So moved.
Motion from Alderman
Second.
Weigel to place on file. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Rote. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 23 is a communication from the city administrator requesting approval to fill upcoming vacant position of housing specialist, director of development,
Move Approval?
Thank you, sir. And
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And item 24, a request from the city
Move for
administrator.
approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And item 25, we're going into the city attorney claim report, and we're gonna take item 29 separately. Can I have a motion for approval of items 25 through 28 and 30,
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
yeah, as recommended by the city attorney?
In accordance.
Thank
Second.
you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And that's the ayes have it. If you give me a moment, I need to do some paperwork here, so I have this straight.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
30 also.
Yeah, that we just voted in favor of, item 30.
He
to-
added 30 in.
Oh, you did? I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
That was for 25
I
through
see.
28 and 30.
Okay,
Thank you.
stand corrected.
Okay, and item 29, I think a number of members of the council were contacted by Ms. Lannon. Ms. Lannon is in the audience here today, and I made copies of Ms. Lannon's notice of claim form because I know that lots of us don't necessarily have this. If you could take one and pass it out regarding the circumstances of her claim. Ms. Lannon, I'd like to give you the chance to explain your case, and then we'll hear from the city attorney and hear what they have to say in response, okay?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is this essentially the online report also? This is,
It's the one that's available online from
yeah.
Legistar.
I believe it is. 'Cause the pictures look familiar.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
I understand there was something said about, there was a little bit more done there than was supposed to be. Well, part of the problem with the porch, there was a hole this big in my porch.
Yeah, well, Ms. Lannon, let's start with the background here.
Okay.
You're a neighbor to a police incident.
Exactly,
There
it's
was
across the parking lot from the Dinette store on Burnham, or on 60th there, and the incident actually took place across the parking lot behind the dental office.
And your property received a number of gunshots.
Exactly.
And there's damage to your property, including your home, your vehicle, and
The garage and the
garage.
porch. And the biggest problem wasn't the fact that the shots, they cut holes in my house this big, and there was one in the porch this long, and in the garage also, you know, in different places where they did this, to retrieve evidence. I didn't realize what they were gonna be doing, that they were cutting holes in the house.
And so, Ms. Lannon, what are you seeking? What dollar amount do you want?
What I had asked for, and I did not ask the city for the entire amount, I went to my insurance company, I didn't think it was fair to go after the city for everything. I just want back my $700 for my deductibles, is all I was asking for. And there was said something about the back porch. What I wanted to say was, the porch was that old-fashioned steel siding, and when they cut holes in it this big, there was no way they could fix it without changing it's a smaller porch, it's not a large porch, but that all had to be replaced with vinyl. And, that, and then the small gutter down below, I paid for that, I did not, put that in on anything. It's marked on one of the sheets, but I did pay for that myself.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
go ahead, Alderman May.
So, I guess a question for the city attorney or maybe the police department, whose bullets were these? I mean, were the police actively involved in shooting, or are these from a party other than the police department?
They don't know who the bullets came from, whether it could have been New Berlin Police Department bullets, it could have been the suspect's bullets. So there's no answer to that.
So it wasn't West Allis Police. I'm just curious.
Well,
I just want to know.
Excuse me, but that's not what they told me from the Oak Creek Police Department told me. Yes, it was some New Berlin and some West Allis. But the man in the dumpster wasn't shooting apparently.
And that's correct. It'll either be West Allis or New Berlin,
Mm-hmm.
one of the two.
And Oak Creek was involved because Oak Creek did the investigation.
Yes.
Correct.
Outside
Yeah.
agency that did the investigation.
And they did make themselves available for any questions that the office might have had, but they couldn't tell me anything else because they said it was still under investigation, so they couldn't give me a copy of their report. Which I understood.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
And,
Alderman
and
Chesky.
we don't know exactly who went and cut all these holes in your house.
Well,
You know, whether it was,
all of a
whether it was
sudden,
Oak
the
Creek
city of
or,
West Allis hook and ladder showed up in front of my house. I couldn't get out from 7 in the morning till 7 at night because they had my whole house blocked off as a crime scene. But what the West Allis Police Fire Department came and brought their ladders out and put them up on my house so that they could use a sawzall to go in and cut these holes all out of my house.
oh, so the fire department cut the holes? Well, so,
I don't know
Yeah,
who
yeah,
cut
sure.
the holes.
Go ahead, go
I
ahead.
truthfully do not know who cut the holes. I wasn't out there.
okay.
Yep,
I
all right,
wasn't
yeah,
allowed
Ms.
out.
Lannon, Chief Mitchell's gonna talk. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
My
Go ahead,
guess
Chief.
would be no. My guess would be that one of any number of police agencies that were called to investigate it would have cut the house to get the evidence out. So it could have been Oak Creek. Those reports have not been released yet because the DA has still not rendered an opinion on it. So in an incident like this, you'll get 10 departments, anywhere from 5 to 10 departments that will respond. And under the leadership of Oak Creek, they will do what Oak Creek needs done. So it could be any number of departments, but ultimately it's us in New Berlin that are calling for help. So this is where it's completely illegal question. So who knows who cut them out? I'm sure it will be in a police report at some point in time, but I don't know that that's bearing. We're the ones that called for help.
Right. Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Chesky.
Now you had said that, the total bill was like $3,800?
That was incorrect.
Oh.
It was like 2,000 and something. I can't remember the rate. I got the
Okay.
figures back
Now,
there.
you said that $700 is what you have to pay.
Yeah, the deductibles
Okay, deductible. Now, is that $700,
for the house and for the car was separate deductibles.
so $700 for both?
Yes,
Okay, now was that $700 whether the bill was 50,000 or
Yes.
2,000? 700 is just.
Didn't matter.
other than- Okay, okay.
And follow up to that, Ms. Lannon, so are you asking for 2 deductibles of $700?
No, no.
$1,400?
total of $700 for
Total.
everything.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm not trying to be unfair with the city here either. I'm
And I wanted to
living
make
on
sure I had that
disability.
straight.
I'm not trying to be unfair with anybody, but
Okay.
I'm not wealthy myself, so.
Yeah, all right, so I think we've heard Ms. Lannon's side, and Cheryl can explain the city attorney's point of view.
Right. In these situations, when there's a privileged person to use force, such as in this case where there's either self-defense or defense to others, the person's not liable for any civil liability for injury or damages caused. So in this situation, the police officers were fired at by the suspect and were privileged to use the force. They were defending themselves, and based on that, there is no civil liability to reimburse somebody who
So you're saying we don't even have.
caught in the fire, I guess.
We don't even have to go into an analysis of who was shooting. There is, under the law, there is no civil liability as long as the person shooting was privileged to do so.
Correct, and defending themselves or others, and that was the situation here.
Okay, then there's no liability for cutting holes in my house either?
It's our understanding also that you gave permission for them to take the evidence and.
They said take evidence. They didn't say anything about cutting holes in my house.
Yeah, so, right, and so there's that, and Alderperson Probst and then Chief Mitchell.
I understand that there may be a law at place here, but there's also a position of right versus wrong. And I think that this is an opportunity for the city of West Allis to actually do right by one of its citizens who did right by us. She could have said no. And that would have prompted a difficulty in the investigation, to say the least. And the fact that she said yes, she was the exact kind of taxpayer that we expect to have and to help us. I think this is our opportunity to do something different.
And Chief Mitchell.
And we're very happy she said yes, but just for clarification, had she said no, the investigating agency would have gotten a search warrant signed by a judge, and we'd be here for the same issue.
Yeah. Alderman Weigel.
On what the city attorney, the assistant city attorney said, so no liability just means there's no requirement for us to pay, but that doesn't preclude us from paying.
Correct.
Okay. And if the investigators were required to get a search warrant, that would have taken hours, several hours, a day?
At that time of the morning, we would have woken a judge up. It would have taken an hour of effort at a computer and then an hour of dealing with the judge.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with the Alderperson Probst on this. This young lady is exactly what we want from our citizens. When the police are there and they ask something of us, yes, she said yes. No.
Common Council President Lysick.
I agree with the former, prior to all the persons. We may not legally be responsible for this, but I think we have a moral obligation to pay this. Obviously, she was a good citizen and did the right thing, and I wouldn't want someone, even though we would have required her to do it anyway, or a court would have required her to do it, I'd much rather have our people acting because they want to help the police department rather than trying to throw roadblocks up.
So my concern is setting a precedent, and now I think we have the leverage to well, not the leverage isn't the word, but we as the policymakers can decide to do what is right in this situation. The significance of perhaps a precedent going in the future, I think what we're looking at is we're just looking at the insurance deductible that is out of pocket from an individual, from a property owner. We aren't looking at the entire amount of damages, only the insurance deductible.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may?
I think Alderman Chabluski's next.
Okay, my understanding is correctly, there was 3 other people who put in claims, which back in July, they were also denied, back in July we voted to deny. Can they come back? Could they come back and ask? Yeah,
They've already been denied though, and then once it's denied, that gets the time ticking for them to file a lawsuit in circuit court. They would not be able to come back if their time for a lawsuit in circuit court had already passed and they hadn't filed a lawsuit in circuit court. What this notice of claim provision is you have to file the notice of claim first, and if we deny, well then you can go to circuit court, you can file a lawsuit. Alderperson Probst.
In the July meetings with those other individuals, did they come forward to talk to us about the claims?
They did not.
I wasn't in these meetings, so I don't know.
No, the only distinction, the only difference is that, Ms. Lanning is here today with us.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may?
2 people moved out of the area, so they won't.
Okay. And Alderman Weigel, and then Chief Mitchell.
Well, I was just gonna make a motion that we pay the $700.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Chief Mitchell.
If I may, and it's really not my issue, but I know when we deal with employees and we deal with outside entities, the fear is always not the action that you take here today to help her. The fear is the precedent. We frequently seek the advice of the city attorney to enter into a legal document that would have language such as, we admit no liability. It may not be as simple as giving her $700. You may open yourself up to the insurance company to now say, we want the entire $3,000 or whatever it might be. very worthwhile thing you're doing tonight, or what I believe you're contemplating doing, but I would suggest you delay it for 2 weeks and you get help from the city attorney to do it in a legal manner that limits city liability.
Alderman Vitale.
Yes, I did contact Ms. Lennon actually today in reference the issue. I did talk to Scott Post, then Scott Post emailed some information to me, what really occurred back in 19, I believe 83, 84. The same issue that a citizen receives some damage, they file a claim, but at that time was denied just as well. But then the issue, I think it ended up in the state court. The state court determined, I believe, the same decisions, not to give those claims any refunds or any money they claimed for. So, and that's what I told Mrs. Lannon here. But the fact is that I feel bad about it, you know, but I kind of, you know, she's a great woman, you know, she's not really looking for a lot of money. But the fact is that if we're doing this in many issues, and I want to be straightforward about it, we're going to open up a can of worms, really, in all fairness. I mean, as I do represent the city, I represent the city, and I feel that at this point, we will jeopardize many other issues the city will be liable for, you know. And so it'll be more litigations, more problems in the future. And like I say, I could give a couple $100 or whatever, but, you know, but the point is that we can't really do that, you know, but that's up to the council, you know, for us to vote on it.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead, Alderman May.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment as Alderman Vitale and with the chief. Let's put this back to the city attorney's office. If we're saying we'd like him to approve it, let's get everything taken care of to cover our liability on this and future cases. And in terms of precedents, I would say that it doesn't open us up to pay the deductible on future cases. I think it would open us up to pay the deductible up to $700 on those future cases. So, but yeah, let's, with the rest of the committee's consensus, I would recommend we send it back to the city attorney's office.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Do the mover and seconder have a feeling as to what to do?
I'll withdraw my second.
I think we can settle this tonight. It's $700. It may not be a lot of money to some people, but it's money. I'm not withdrawing my motion.
Mr. Chair, if we send it back to the attorney's office, it would be with that, knowing the will of this committee supposedly that we want to pay the deductible?
We want to pay $700, and we
Yes.
would like the appropriate language, hold harmless.
For this case.
This applies. We are giving this to you regardless of liability. We acknowledge no liability.
And Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We're looking, this would be essentially a 2-week or 2.5 week.
I don't have a problem with that.
2.5 week
You wanna
delay,
do some
whatever it is.
language?
As long as we
I
can
don't
get an
have a problem
answer
with that at all.
before the next council meeting. Then I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that at all. I understand you gotta protect yourselves too.
Okay.
I'm not, you know, I do wanna say one more thing.
Ms. Lannon, you already won.
I
You don't want
com-
to say anything.
Listen to the lawyer.
He's a lawyer.
This is not for me, this is for anybody else. I found out completely by accident this morning that this was even on the docket for
Yeah.
tonight. And I think it's important that people be notified somehow before something, that's all I want to say.
Sure. Okay, very
Thank you.
good. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Lannon. All right, we'll hold that item. And then we have item 31, which is an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 2.76 of the West Allis Revised Municipal Code relating to wages, hours, conditions of employment, and abolishing the Civil Service Commission. I said that all in one breath.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Grill.
Number 31 is the item that was before the committee in January. There were some revisions to section 2.76, so the recommendation was to have number 31 to place on file and can have the committee consider what's number 11.
Okay, then that's a good segue to those other ones. Alderman May.
I move we place number 31 on file.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And then moving on to item 11. And we're looking at 11 and 17, but starting with 11 is an ordinance to repeal and create section 2.76, a subchapter of the Civil Service Commission. And who wants to talk? Yes, Alderman Lysick.
This was discussed.
Have a seat at the table, please, Tom, so we can get you on the microphone better.
This item was discussed back in about a year ago, maybe short of a year ago, before this committee, at which time this committee passed a resolution saying, agreeing that the staff should pursue changing the policies and procedure manual and adopt an ordinance abolishing the Civil Service Commission. And this is the result of those efforts. Staff has been meeting, the attorney's office and HR has spent a lot of time on this, updating the policy manual and the procedures. And basically what this does is it streamlines the operation. It takes some, for instance, on promotions, if a department head is promoting someone right now, they have to go through the Civil Service Commission and get approval. The Civil Service Commission basically rubber stamps it. They're not down at the department. They don't know who else is there that might be qualified for that promotion. They look at the one promotion opportunity that's there, and I'm not aware of any time they've ever turned one down or rejected one. So it was seen as a waste of staff's time because someone from that department has to appear or should appear at the Civil Service Commission meeting. They don't always, because I think some staff recognizes this is kind of a waste of time, of their time. And HR has to be there at the Civil Service Commission meetings. And really all they're doing is rubber stamping something that's a fact already. And I have a lot of respect for the people that put their time in on the Civil Service Commission. But I think that in what we're trying to do with leaning our management system and making our processes operate faster and more efficiently, I think this provides that opportunity to eliminate another step in our operation. We have, I talked to a number of department heads regarding this. The ones I've talked to all have a positive attitude about it. They like the fact that they will be more involved in the selection of employees. They will, right now they're given a short list of 4 people or so to hire, and they're looking at making receiving an expanded list so that they have more options when they're hiring somebody. Right now we do Civil Service does some testing of applicants, which in some cases could be construed as being outdated. Not necessary. For instance, if we're hiring a truck driver, we give them a driving test when they have to have a CDL. The state's already given them a test. What are we giving them another test for? It's that type of thing. And in conjunction with this, many communities across the state, in fact, Attorney Post has indicated most communities across the state do not have a Civil Service Commission. And the state in the last couple of years has abolished the state Civil Service Commission for these very same reasons. It's kind of an outdated concept, and this should help us help our HR department and staff
become a little more efficient.
All right, any further discussion? And I guess, Cheryl, sure, and then Audrey Keegan back, I don't know, if you have anything to say, but we'll start with Cheryl.
Okay, I just want some clarification, provide clarification. If you do abolish the Civil Service Commission, the city is still going to have a procedure to hear grievances on employee discipline, termination, safety issues. With the Civil Service Commission, they are the hearing body that any of these grievances ultimately end up with. If you abolish the civil service system, the statute then requires that you have the hearing before impartial hearing officers. So that would be somebody from the outside. Either you can have an agreement with another community, maybe somebody from there, or you pay an impartial hearing officer to hear it. And in that situation, if an individual is not happy with their decision, they can appeal it, and the next appeal would go to the Common Council. So you would be hearing and being essentially the ultimate hearing body on those determinations. With the Civil Service Commission, if somebody's unhappy with their determination, they have to file a lawsuit and appeal it to circuit court. So there's a distinction. You may be opening yourselves up to hearing discipline, termination, and workplace safety issues. There is an option where you can reduce the responsibilities and the processes that have to go before the commission. You could pull all of the things that Alderman Lysak was addressing from the Civil Service Commission and essentially establish them as the hearing, maintain your civil service system, but rearrange the responsibilities that are addressed and have to go before the commission. Essentially make them the hearing body for the grievances, and everything else could be then taken care of and streamlined through policy with HR. So that's an option. I'm just trying to make you aware of what, each option lays out there for you.
And Alderman Weigel, and then Alderman Lysak.
I just have a question. So the whole council, or could it be a committee of the council that would hear the appeal on the grievance?
Well, the statute specifically states an appeal process in which the highest level of appeals is the governing body of the local government. It doesn't address if you can appoint a smaller number from that hearing body. It says the hearing body, which.
Mr. Chair.
And Alderman Lysak.
Cheryl, it was my understanding that if we went that route, if we went the route of keeping the Civil Service Commission for grievances, that we still had to have them for hiring and promotions and that type of thing. Well, that's what was written in that one sample of the ordinance that you gave to me.
Right, the language.
And that's my objection. I do not want the Civil Service Commission to be involved in the hiring of employees, the testing of them, or promotions. If we can get them for the grievance procedure only and disciplinary action, that's great. That was my original intent.
Right.
Is that possible?
Right, the statute talked about them, decisions being subject to their approval, but that authority can be delegated to essentially HR, and by their hearing these matters and being able to hear them, that essentially is they're having a say over the hiring procedures and
Well, we don't want them to have a say over the hiring
well,
procedure.
they would in the effect, in the sense that they're hearing grievances, they're making the decision. That
In that sense, yes.
In that sense.
My concern is that we don't have them involved in creating tests for employees or doing actual testing of employees for positions, or having any say in the promotion of employees or in the hiring of employees. only in the grievance or in disciplinary action portion.
Right.
That I agree with.
And following that initial problematic language, as I refer to it as, I did consult with Brookfield and I consulted with Wauwatosa, who both have civil service systems. And their Civil Service Commission does not oversee any of the things that.
Any of those things, they're only there for grievance procedure.
Mr. Chair,
That's,
Yes, Ms. Grill.
that is different than the information that I received from you last week regarding this. You had indicated that as long as we have a civil service commission, they have to be over those types of items. Cause we had a different version of this ordinance that I have talked with Alderman Lysak about, and that specific issue about the testing and such was in there, and I said, I don't believe that he wants that to be in there, and I was told that it had to be in there as long as we have a civil service commission, cause state law says that if you have a civil service commission, they have to be over those processes. So is
And then we followed
that
up
not
with-
the case? Or is it, I'm confused because that was the consistent information I had received from you from when we brought that up until
That
today.
language was in there and that came up as an issue,
Mhm.
and that's a statement, but then upon further review, which we also shared with you, and I believe you shared with Alderman Lysak, in our discussions with these other communities and how it's been interpreted and never been questioned, is that it's delegated to HR, and by this Civil Service Commission, again, hearing these grievances and grievances over the hiring procedure. If a candidate has concerns that they were not hired, they could take it to the Civil Service Commission solely just to make that determination. They're essentially overseeing, but they're not having a say in the testing, they're not having a say in approving the hiring, they're not developing the hiring procedures. That's all.
I'm gonna be honest, I want our HR professionals to be doing that job, and not citizens that, as well-intentioned as they may be, do not have the HR background that is needed in today's world to function. And, I certainly don't want someone that is a grieving being not hired going to the Civil Service Commission. I wanna be working with HR in our attorney's office rather than the Civil Service Commission. And that's why I wanna, get out of the realm of the Civil Service Commission and get it to the professionals where it should be. And, whatever it takes, my druthers are to have the Civil Service Commission only for grievances and disciplinary action, period. Not someone appealing to them if they don't like the fact that they weren't hired, only for disciplinary action. So if someone's got a grievance, that's fine, they're an independent group, and that's what, they should be there for.
I think we need, go ahead, Cheryl. Did you have a response or? Okay.
I understand that, and I believe that can be done.
Yeah, I think this is a good
Okay.
discussion, but we're certainly not at a point where we can act on this yet.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Alderman Weigel.
I have a question. So if someone applies for a job with us and we don't hire them, they still would have standing with the Civil Service Commission? They'd have a grievance about the process by which they didn't get hired? I understand where our employees currently. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I was throwing it out there, like, now, if there's an individual who isn't considered because of maybe their criminal record, or they have a question about something like that, they've been allowed to address and find out why they maybe present evidence that something was inaccurate, or they had an appeal procedure. That's the type of thing, and I didn't think that
Yeah.
was, we can maybe narrow it down
Yeah.
to the discipline, hearing grievances.
Is that the consensus?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
I think the vision has been set out by Alderman Lysick.
Yeah.
I agree with it. So when can we have something back to us that does that?
October 5th.
October 5th or 3rd? Whatever that date is. 3rd. We get it back by October 3rd?
Good. All right, head nods. All right. All right, thank you. And then item 17, do we need not address item 17?
Goes hand in
That should
hand.
be held.
Yep.
That should be
at
held
the
also.
same time.
Thank you.
17, yeah.
All right, so then we're done. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it. All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
What's that?